So let's talk a little bit about the gatekeeper objections. Now, we talked in detail about objections in the last chapter of the Smart Sales System, and these objections that I show you will be from that, which is, and we already discussed these. So one of the most common objections for a gatekeeper is, what is this in regards to? Gatekeepers ask this objection to get salespeople to self-identify themselves as a salesperson calling to try to sell something. Because if a salesperson honestly answers this question, what their calls in regards to is they're calling to introduce themselves, they're calling to introduce their product, their company, they're calling to have schedule an appointment, they're calling to learn about what the needs are of that contact or that business, they're calling to see if that prospect needs what they sell, and so on. So if a gatekeeper says what's this in regards to, and if you answer honestly directly with anything like that, the gatekeeper will know, okay, this is someone that not only is it okay for me to tell them to go away and not let them in, but this is someone that I need to, because if I let them through and they try to sell to the people behind me that I'm the gatekeeper for, I can get in trouble. So a very common objection, and one that you need to be prepared for, is this a sales call? It's the exact same objection, just in a different wrapping. We are not interested. So this is a very quick response from gatekeepers. By the way, I am sure you feel the same way as I do. This is an extremely frustrating objection, because when a gatekeeper says we're not interested, they don't even have the knowledge or right to make that determination, right? You know, they hear about what you sell or what company you're with, and then they quickly say, we're not interested. They don't even know what you sell. They don't know. They aren't not in a position to make that decision, yet they will throw this at you. So it's one that you need to be prepared for. We are already using someone for that. We do not need that right now. Send me your information. So gatekeepers and prospects love the send me your information. This is a very easy way to get rid of salespeople, in a very polite way. Because what the gatekeeper or prospect is doing is they're giving the salesperson a little bit of hope. They might say something like, "Oh, I'll tell you what, send me your information and I'll pass it along." The salesperson then has a little bit of hope that they might have an opportunity, and that the gatekeeper is going to be kind enough to pass along the information. So then the salesperson ends the call, spends 20 minutes of their time putting together the most well wordsmith email and sends it over, where the gatekeeper then deletes it without even looking at it. So the worst thing you could do in that scenario is to let the call end and then spend your valuable time putting together your information. We basically talked about all of these objections in the last chapter, so in terms of how to respond. So I'm not going to repeat that. You can pretty much actually use the exact same responses, which with all of these you can pretty much deflect to different building blocks. So you can deflect to your value points, your pain questions, your current environment questions, and that was all discussed in the chapter on dealing with objections. The only thing that you would change with these is that if a prospect answers one of your questions where they're signaling that there might be pain, or then you could use that to justify closing for an appointment with something like this. Oh, well, that's one of the reasons why I'm reaching out. Based on that, it might make sense to talk in more detail, because that's what we help with, and then you close for the appointment. With the gatekeeper, you're not going to close for the appointment, because you're not trying to schedule an appointment with the gatekeeper, and you're not trying to schedule an appointment with the gatekeeper for the target prospect. You're trying to get around the gatekeeper. So if the gatekeeper gives you an answer to a pain question or current environment question that either signals that they maybe have pain, or that the gatekeeper doesn't know the answer, or the gatekeeper doesn't know if there's pain or not, then you use that as justification to get past the gatekeeper. So it looks something like this. Oh, I see. Well, that's one of the reasons why we probably could have a very productive conversation with Mary or Tom or the CFO, or and because that's an area that we help with. And honestly, I think that they would find that conversation to be very productive. What's the best way for me to get in contact with them? So you responded to the objection with your pain question. You got kind of a pain answer, and you used it to try to get around the gatekeeper and try to get through them. And you could do something similar if the gatekeeper doesn't know. Oh, I understand. Well, that's why I'm trying to reach Mark, because he likely would know all the details around that, and that's what we're trying to talk to you guys about. What's the best way for me to get in contact with Mark? So again, to see the exact responses to these objections, just refer back to the chapter on objections, and the only thing you really change for is what you try to close for after you deflect to one of your building blocks.